TG Geeks episode 384, June 27th, 2022. To fill or not to fill? Touchies! Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the Two Gay Geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery, sci-fi, comics, film, horror, genre, you name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Liner. We're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely monsoony Phoenix, Arizona.
And I'm Ben Raginson, coming to you from what feels like a swamp.
Oh my God, it is a swamp out there.
I mean, it's not as bad as like North Carolina. It's not that kind of humid, but when it gets over 30% humidity here, it is ugly in Phoenix, Arizona.
Two words, ugly.
Ugg and Lee.
Yes. Well, let's get on with this.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Episodes, the Two Gay Geeks are discussing this.
Well, this time we have Zachary Wheeler coming back to talk to us about something new that he has to release, and as well as just catch up with him a little bit and have our birthday shout-outs, our podcast of the week, and everybody's favorite feedback and shout-outs. And in the second segment, we might have something to talk about. I don't know.
If we're lucky.
If we have some time. I don't know. Weekly recap or the wacky weekly recap. I need to write that in there instead of just saying it every time. And a regular shout-outs. And then we'll say bye-bye. So let's get on with that. And we welcome back to our show Zachary Wheeler, who is an author extraordinaire and the heir apparent to the Douglas Adams throne. He's written quite a number of things, and we've had him on the show quite a few times, but he has something new this time. Welcome back to the show, Zachary.
Thank you, gentlemen. It is always a pleasure to talk to you. And now that you've made the Douglas Adams comparison, we can wrap it up there.
There we go. We'll just thank you and
Thanks
goodbye.
Where can people find you? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, there we go. We'll just finish this thing right off.
Right.
Well, and just as a reminder for those that have not listen to any of our shows and know who Zachary Wheeler is and how we got associated with him. It was, oh my gosh, how many years ago? 5,
Quite
6,
a
7?
few.
It's been a tick now, yeah.
Oh, because
You were just starting. You just released, I think, the first book in the Immortal Wake series.
yeah.
I think I had Max and only had two
you did.
books out. There was the first of the Immortal Wake, Transient, and Max and the Multiverse, the first book, and
Yes.
that's all I had at that point.
Yeah. Was it, did you have Max out at the time? I don't
He
know.
did. So, 'cause
I
I
think
did
you
Because
were.
he talked
both
about, I
books.
remember you talking about it, saying, this is your serious science fiction,
Yeah.
rapper, and here's your funny one.
Anyway, it was at Phoenix Comic Con, and it was kind of a fluke that we were walking down that little artist or author alley that was separated from the big name author alley, shall we say. And you were there, and you had your banner that said Transient and had been picked up for,
It was
optioned for a TV series or movie or something. And
Voltage had picked it up to be a feature film.
Yep. And so we said, hey, well, we'll go talk to this guy. And we talked to you for just a moment and set up an interview. And then we talked to Carrie Merrill across the way, and the rest is history. So tell everybody that's listening, who is Zachary Wheeler? How did you get into writing, and what have you done so far?
Sure. So I'll give the most straightforward answer I can. My name is Zachary Wheeler. I'm a science fiction writer. got multiple series out, like we were just discussing, the Immortal Wake and Max in the Multiverse. Also, Puki Horpocket Presents, which we'll discuss later on. And I had gotten into writing on a very windy trajectory. Never intended to be a writer. It just happened to go down that route. I was a programmer, or well, I still am a programmer. I had gotten plenty of peripheral writing experience just from wikis and manuals and all that kind of stuff. I had got an idea for a vampire story, and this was back when the Twilight series was popular, and I was definitely wanting a more grounded, science-heavy take on it, or not wanting. I had thought of an idea with that, and I had written the first draft of what would become Transient, which was quite terrible, but it read pretty well as a thesis on vampire biology, but I slowly just honed my writing skills, rewrote it several times, just kept getting better and better, and before long it's just like, oh, this is actually getting to the point where it's maybe publishable, and I pulled that trigger at some point, and the rest was history.
And which I thought it was a fabulous book when we read it the first time. So, as well as everything else that you've written. So, Immortal Wake, or that Transient became Immortal Wake series, and there's 2 other books in that series, correct?
Correct, and a prequel novella that I released.
Oh, yes.
The Bone Maiden.
Yes. That was awesome.
And, thank you. And that was actually my first foray into horror territory, and I have to say that was fun to write. So I'll probably be revisiting that well in the future.
Oh, look forward to it.
You're a budding horror author now. How about that? Well, are you going to be the heir apparent to Stephen King then?
Seriously, if we get to a point where you can make those comparisons in one podcast, then I'm pretty much going to hang it up there.
Douglas Adams and Stephen King.
Well, you're onto something, because The Bone Maiden does have a sort of Stephen King vibe to it, now that you mention it.
You're killing me, Ben.
I'm not just blowing smoke. I really mean that, because
there's smoke coming out of his ears now.
Oh, you lie! No, but in all seriousness, there was a very interesting tone to that story, and I couldn't put my finger on it until just now when we made the Stephen King comment. I thought, oh my God, that's what I was feeling. That's what I was sensing. That it sort of has that Stephen King vibe going to it. So yeah, that if you can develop that particular avenue, that would really set you apart.
There's a reason I keep coming back to you guys. I just can't.
We just keep stroking your ego.
That's
there,
it right there.
But we're not.
Thank you.
We are.
No wonder you said, "Hey, can I be on next week too?"
Yeah, really. But we're not lying either, because my husband pretty much said the same thing about your Max series. What is that?
Well, yeah. Tell us about Max.
Sure. Well, Max in the Multiverse is a sci-fi comedy series that follows a nerdy teen as he tumbles through the multiverse. And the core idea for this series, when I was first writing it, was when I really love the multiverse as a concept. And whenever you see a series that deals with the multiverse, a la like Doctor Who or Stargate, there's always a reason to interact with them, i.e. like a mission of sorts. So, there's always a team that goes in, or like there's something that has to be fixed, or all that kind of stuff. So I thought, what if there wasn't one? What if some hapless fool was just thrust into the situation against its will? And that was the birth of the series. So Max is just this teen who gets transported to a parallel universe every time he falls asleep, and he wakes up in a new world, and he has to deal with it. And there's where the comedy comes.
Yes,
and the manner in which that all happened, I remember my husband saying, "This is like right out of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy."
It is.
And that's where the comparison is so beloved on this side of the mic, because Douglas Adams is has been my favorite author since childhood. So to hear that just warms my heart. So
it
thank
was
you every time you say
just,
it, and please keep saying it.
Yeah, I guess the way Max kind of, as he falls asleep and he wakes up in a different a different verse, shall we say, he changes. He might be a cat this time, or an amoeba this time, or whatever, and he has to interact with that world, and it's just, and that's where the comedy ensues, as you said,
Yeah.
And then the people that are around him, and we won't mention his cat,
Yes.
who has become a sentient being, and oh my gosh,
Well, more than just a sentient being, but we'll leave it at that,
Yes.
because that's a surprise for the readers to find out for themselves.
exactly,
Yes.
But also, Max has a number of things that have spun off of that.
Yes. So there's also Max and the Multiverse shorts, which are short stories that, but in thinking about this series, is like whenever you come up with a new thing for Max to interact with, there has to be like an overarching story that is driving the plot along. So it can't be just, he wakes up into a new thing and then deals with it, and then the next thing and deals with it. It's like that'll just get boring. Even though it's novel, it gets boring because it's just the same thing over and over. There has to be a storyline to go with it, hence the plot with Zoe and Para and the rest of the crew. And the shifting becomes the flavor going forward with that. But there are certain ideas I get that are funny in and of themselves, but don't move the plot forward. So that becomes Max in the Multiverse shorts, where he just wakes up into the new universe and has to deal with that by itself.
Right.
And then the Puki Horpocket Presents series spun off from book 2, where when he visits the massive Durangoni space station, and that whole environment got really interesting to think about, and that spawned an idea for more books and shorts, which turned into the Puki series.
Wow. Yeah. And the Puki series, I mean, there are, if you just talked about the Durangoni space station, there's 1,000,001 stories right there.
Exactly. I will say that the first book, Roy, was recently awarded a Bragg medallion.
Oh, cool.
So it is. Puki is now an award-winning series. So yay.
Well, that's great to know. And Roy is a terrific book.
Yes,
I mean,
it really is.
I fondly say that there was one passage that I was reading while eating my breakfast, which was a nearly fatal mistake, because I choked when I read this one particular passage about.
There's still cereal kind of hanging out on his monitor there.
Yeah, that's when there was a certain reference to a specific sex toy suddenly made an appearance, and the manner in which it happened was undeniably hilariously funny.
It's like to actually get a legitimate spit take is quite rewarding to hear. So.
Yeah, there was. And what was the first short? Was that the item of monumental importance?
So that was the first Max short.
Right.
The first Puki short was Nimmy.
Right. But I did like sat down. You told me that it was being released, and I think I bought it the minute it was released, and I read it. It's a short read, and I loved it. I thought, where on earth is this going? And then it was like, oh my God!
Oh, and that's another thing too. It's like one of the things I wanted to do with the Max shorts, for anyone listening who wants to try out the series, is I set it up to where all of the Max shorts are totally standalone tales and serve as alternate entry points into the book series.
Yeah.
So you can read them in any order at any time. They are supplemental and standalone. Yeah.
And you don't have to know anything about Max. in
Exactly.
the multiverse. So that's great.
But it is fun to use them to kind of poke fun at other genres, and I guess technically the Bone Maiden wasn't my first foray into horror. It was Nibble Nom Death Trap,
yes.
which was action horror, but I mean it was still sci-fi comedy, so it
Right.
wasn't like core horror like the Bone Maiden.
Right.
But yeah, it's fun to get ideas in other genres and then just right through the Max lens. So that's been a lot of fun.
Those are great. You can find those on any place that books are found.
Yep.
And they're just look up Zachry Wheeler, Zachry,
Yes.
and Wheeler, obviously.
Yeah.
Do we need to spell that for them?
I hope not.
I trust your listeners. Yeah, they're the intelligent types.
Yes, but you have, and we've spent all this time now, but you have something new that is being released very soon.
Yes, so I have a new Puki short coming out next month in July, and it is going to be probably the first legitimate series crossover, because it's about a character, Puki interviewing a character that originated from Max in the Multiverse.
Yeah, and who is that?
And this is the fan favorite Phil.
And there was much rejoicing.
Yay!
Yay! Woo! So Phil has been begging for a short story for a long time.
I can see Phil.
But the issue,
I
actually ran. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm trying to imagine how he was begging you, much the
With
same
that
way.
tentacle tickling your ear.
Or what was he just beaming out a message like the same way he did in the book to Puki?
Go away, I'm
That's
busy.
right, just the drone request in my head, day in, day out. Just like an excitable toddler that he is.
And you have to know Phil in order to appreciate this.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
That's right. But the big challenge with it, I mean, this has been in the works for a long time, and I rewrote it several times. And I'd realized that I had two big challenges. And the first off is just what you alluded to. It's very difficult to introduce Phil.
Yes.
Because there's just so much you need to know in order to understand what the hell is going on with this character.
Yes.
So in the context of a novel, that's fine, because you've got tens of thousands of words to do it with. But in the context of a short story, especially a standalone short story, it's hard to introduce him. So just the exposition alone is like half the story. So it's like, how the hell do I do this? So that's why I was having a hard time doing it through the Max series, because a Max short has Max in it.
Right.
So it's like, how do I tell the story of this functionally immortal being with a mortal cast? So it got to be kind of challenging to kind of shoehorn that in, and the solution to that came through porting him to the Puki Horpocket series, because it's Puki's job to interview beings.
Right.
So Puki could actually absorb that exposition through that exchange.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that makes so much more sense for this character. And of course he would exist. I mean, it's not like he doesn't, but it's like he was just rooted in the Max series. It's like, oh, well, I have this crazy character who can interview this other crazy character, and it's like, oh, that fixes the problem. And so the final once I ported him to Puki Horpocket Presents, the last version just wrote itself. It was so easy to get through.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting too, in the way that you can do that exposition, but also truncate it at certain points. You don't have to go on a big long explanation of why does Phil do this thing. It's a couple of sentences, like you had, the stunner, shall we say,
Yes.
and it makes sense then, and how Phil is all about touchies and and then the things that Phil tries to do, and then, as I said,
and he has no comfort zone.
oh no, just no sense of boundary at all.
And as I say in the early part of the book, it's very much not in a creepy uncle way. It's in a very, I don't understand, I'm very old, I don't understand how things work, I'm isolated, and I just really like the idea of interacting with other beings kind of way.
Physically.
Very innocent.
Physically and or whatever. But I thought it was great in the Max series, though, where that's never happened before. He just swallowed Max up and then spit him out.
Spat him back out.
So, anyway.
So this kind of begs the question a little bit, and that is, now we've talked about Phil, but from an author standpoint, how did Phil manifest to you? That first in the Max series, because that's where we first meet him. But how did you get this idea for this particular type of character? Because there aren't many that are like him.
Oh yes, so Phil. I distinctly remember when I was writing book 2 of Max, I had set it up where I needed an oracle type character, someone to go to for guidance or answers. And of course, whenever you're treating it with a comedic lens, you want it to be you wanted to fulfill those tropes, but do it in a very entertaining and unexpected way. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought it would be funny to have an oracle that doesn't know it's an oracle. It just happens to be like a really intelligent, all the wisdom, well, not wisdom, all the intelligence of the, the universe at its beck and call, and, it serves that role, but it just has zero context what that means. Like I was saying earlier, the mental maturity of a toddler.
Right.
And then from that idea, Phil just started to expand, and probably one of the funnest moments or funnest times I've had as an author was writing that intro chapter to Phil, which comes early on in Max and the Snoodlecott, book 2. And I think that was one of the few times where my own writing made me laugh. So that was a lot of fun to write, and then Phil instantly became like a fan favorite character in the series.
He just is. I mean, he's so outrageous that and it's like they went to him for one piece of information and they got 20,000 pieces of information. Now they have to sift through that crap. What did he just say to me?
Phil will serve your purpose, but you will pay for it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I had alluded to the Hitchhiker's Parallels earlier. And then as I was reading why Phil demanded to be interviewed by Puki, by the time I got to the end of it, I thought, he and not in a literal, but more in sort of in a metaphorical sort of way. He's like a blend of Marvin the Robot for the intelligence and Zaphod Beeblebrox for his sense of self-importance.
That's a very good marriage to describe Phil.
Two of the most dysfunctional characters. I mean,
yeah.
two of the most freaked out characters in all of Hitchhikers, and you've blended them together, and we have a blob named Phil.
Yep, exactly.
And he has his own quirkiness to add to the equation that makes him even more of a wild card kind of character.
Exactly.
But the humor is just pours out of him, and he's so much fun to write because of that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. He does have that Marvin Zaphod trait marriage.
Yeah, and as I had said before when we were chatting about this before the interview, the thing that I felt at the end of the story was a line from the Doctor Who story, The Doctor's Wife, where she looks at him and says, "Oh, my beautiful idiot." It's true. It's like, oh, Phil.
That beautifully encapsulates the character.
Exactly.
And I will add that because we've Keith and I have already read it. By the time I got to the end, I could really feel for Puki. I mean,
It's
I felt Puki in a very big way, not in the same way that Phil feels him, but purely in a symbolic sort of way.
Yeah,
and thought, oh, poor Puki, he had to endure all of that for this purpose.
Exactly. And it just goes on, and you think, where in the hell is this going? What is this? I mean, not in a bad way, but it's like, but
it was
baffling.
baffling.
That's the exact emotion I was hoping to get with this story, because really the root idea was that everyone does things in their own kind of idiosyncratic way.
Yes.
But Phil has immortality in order to do it.
yeah.
So think of this, just the most mundane things you can think of, and that's the kind of time period that Phil has to play with. So that was like the root idea that was the birth of this story.
and then all of a sudden, it ends.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
It kind of does, and I had to digest that. I had to think about it.
Yeah.
But the more I thought about it, the more I realized there really is no other way to end it.
Exactly.
I mean, this is the only way the story could have been
It's
ended.
the perfect ending. Anyway, so now.
So you've got this short story coming out. When is it supposed to be released to the greater world?
So it will be. So the pre-order is going to be going on sale on the 5th of July, and since it's a short story, it'll be a 99-cent ebook and a $5 paperback if you would like, which also comes with the first chapter of Roy, if you want to get a taste of that. And then the release date will be the 26th of July.
Cool.
Coolness, and I highly recommend them. This is the third of the Puki stories. They're all just fantastic. The first one is nothing short of brilliant.
No, thank you.
And comedic brilliant. And the second one is like one of the best satirical statements I've ever read. Wonderful satire there. And then this one is sort of like a blend of the both, I think. I'm still trying to categorize the third one, but it was just magnificent.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, the third one is a bit hard to categorize, just for the reason that Phil himself is hard to categorize. So it's like he kind of like his personality is the story. So it's not like a play on anything in particular, other than just fun with Phil. And just like with Max and the Multiverse shorts, all the Puki Horpocket stories are standalone, so you can read them in any order you please. So if you want this to be your first experience with the series, then you can do that.
Cool.
Is there any more coming from the Max verse or the Immortal Wake universe? Something for fans to look forward to as well.
So the plan I had going forward after Phil was to do the fourth Max book, which would lead into the next Puki novel. But there's I have some other things, some other irons in the fire that has my attention as well. Like I had alluded earlier, there's a horror series that is really kind of tickling my fancy, kind of a cyberpunk horror, and I'm really grooving on that. So my old trajectory kind of got muddled over the last couple months. So honestly, I have no idea what the next story is going to be.
It will be what it will be.
It works for all. Yes.
When it's done, you'll let us know.
Yes, I will absolutely do so.
You bet. And where?
Yeah. So where can people find? Well, let me first ask this: if people want to learn more about you, how can they do that?
The best way to learn more about me is at my author site, and that's ZachryWheeler.com, complete with the weird spelling, Zachry, Wheeler.com. And the best way to keep up to date with what's going on is through my newsletter, which you can sign up there at the website. And I will send you a free copy of The Item of Monumental Importance, the first Max and the Multiverse short.
Which is really great. I enjoyed that one tremendously.
And if people want to purchase your works?
Well, I am fully wide, so you can purchase me anywhere you any of your preferred outlets. So Amazon, Apple, Kobo, Barnes & Noble, Google, I'm all there.
You have links on your site as well, correct? That take you to the different places.
Purchase links are under every book page. So if you find one you like, then you can get your links right there at the page.
And we just wanted to clarify that if you want to purchase your works, not purchase you.
Yes,
because you said purchase me.
But, there'll be a negotiation process.
Your wife might have something
I was
to
going to
say
say,
about that.
yeah, it's your wife.
You never know if it's enough. She might say yes.
That's right. Add enough zeros on there, then we'll have a chat. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, this is, as always, this has been wonderful. Thank you, Zachary, for talking to us today.
Of course, it is always a pleasure to chat with you too, and thank you again for having me on.
Sure.
This is Zachary Wheeler, science fiction novelist, and you are listening to the Two Gay Geeks.
Well, here's a few selected birthdays for. I just want to say that I always have a great time talking to Zachary.
It's always fun talking to Zachary.
And the time just flies. It's amazing how the time flies with him. It's always
easy
great
to chat
talk
with
to
him.
So here's a few selected birthdays for June 27th through July 3rd, 2022. June 27th, Bianca Del Rio, better known by the stage name or Bruce. Oh shoot, I didn't put his regular name in there. Anyway, I looked him up in Wikipedia, so it has the name. And then, better known by the stage name Bianca Del Rio, is an American drag queen, comedian, actor, and costume designer. She is known for winning the 6th season of RuPaul's Drag Race. Since her time on Drag Race, Del Rio has written and toured several stand-up shows, including It's Just a Joke in 2019, which also made her the first drag queen to headline at Wembley Arena.
Bianca's birth name, if you want to say, is Roy Haylock.
There we go. She's also performed as a host for various international tours, most notably Werg the World. In 2018, she published her first book, Blame It on Bianca Del Rio, the expert on nothing with an opinion on everything. In 2019 of June, a panel of judges from New York Magazine placed Del Rio first on their list of most powerful drag queens in America, a ranking of 100 former RuPaul Drag Race contestants. And then we have Matthew Lewis, actor. Neville Longbottom in the Harry Potter series has been working regularly since on a number of British TV programs.
And boy, has he shaped up. And I mean that shaped up.
Yep, exactly. June 28th, Maria Goeppert-Mayer was a German-born American theoretical physicist and Nobel laureate in physics for proposing the nuclear shell model of the atomic nucleus. She was the second woman to win a Nobel Prize in physics, the first being Marie Curie. In 1986, the Maria Goeppert-Mayer Award for early career women physicists was established in her honor. She also worked on the Manhattan Project and a number of other things, so she's a wonderful physicist. Then we have Lala Ward, actress, most known as Ramana Feratralunda, or Ramana.
Just Ramana for short.
For short. Was also married to Tom Baker.
For a time.
18 months, or 16 months, I think it was. Had a role in the Hammer film Vampire Circus before she was in Doctor Who.
No kidding.
Yes. And then we have Alice Krieg, the Borg Queen. Mel Brooks, oh my gosh, the famous comedian, actor, director, producer, Crazy Man. And then Gilda Radner, Crazy Woman.
Who was married to Gene Wilder before she passed away.
Exactly.
Who worked with Mel Brooks.
Yes, and then actor in his own right and friend of ours, Andrew B.
Happy birthday.
June 29th, Gary Busey. I have to put him on here every year.
You have to.
He just, He came to my attention in like 1973 on the Mazeppa Pompazoides Uncanny Film Festival and Camp Meeting on Channel 8 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He was Teddy Jack Eddy. That was his...
That's his character name.
Then we have Bernard Herrmann. Composer, orchestrator for film and TV, was orchestrator for The Day the Earth Stood Still for the regular music.
Not much regular. Well,
yeah,
there's
a
some,
bit,
but not a lot.
As well as composer. Yes, he was a composer.
He was a composer.
Composer.
Oh dear.
Composer. Stock music for many TV shows in the late 50s and 60s. Composed the music for Psycho.
Oh.
And, oh yeah, and Hitchcock was so enamored with the score for Psycho that he paid him double the salary.
That sounds like Hitchcock.
Yep. Ray Harryhausen. And this is from his bio, and it pretty much sums up. It says, when it comes to motion picture special effects, there is only one name that personifies movie magic, Ray Harryhausen.
Yeah, that's true.
From his debut films with George Powell to his final film, Harryhausen imbued magic and visual strength to motion picture special effects as no other technician has before or since.
I love the Sinbad movies as well as that Clash of the Titans. Is one I love to look at it. I mean, it may be not the greatest movie, but visually it is gorgeous.
Yeah, he said that Jason and the Argonauts was his favorite.
It's his favorite?
Film. Yeah.
I think probably his hardest, too.
Yeah. And as a teenager in his native Los Angeles, Harryhausen joined a science fiction club. It was there that he met two men who had become lifelong friends, Ray Bradbury and Forrest J. Ackerman.
Oh, my word.
Yeah, exactly. June 30th, Rupert Graves, actor, V for Vendetta, Sherlock as Lestrade, and Morris as Alex Scudder in 1987 when he came to my attention. Oh my gosh, he was so cute.
Well, he's still a good-looking man.
Very good-looking man.
He's very handsome.
Yes. And quite a bit of British TV programming.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he's just been in everything. Then we have Vincent D'Onofrio, actor. He was Edgar in Men in Black. He was the Bug.
Yes.
Yes. Daredevil in the Hawkeye, also in the Hawkeye series. And one of the few actors to have worked with both Stanley Kubrick and Robert Altman.
Oh.
There's only like 3 other actors that have worked with both of those directors.
That's a weird cross-pollination there.
Yes, exactly. And then we have friends Matt Ian Kelly over in the UK, and Jason Stratman in Japan, and Jane Fennessy, who is on the board of directors of Arizona Opera. Alan Johnson Schmidt. Andrew Johnson Schmidt. I can't even write what I read. Read.
I can't write my own reading.
Wow, I'm doing wonderful today. Andrew Johnson Schmidt, who used to live up in Prescott, but they have moved to Albuquerque to finish their film. And then Tammy Thornton Turney, a former classmate of mine. And on July 1st, we have Gottfried Leibniz. He was a 17th century German polymath, active as a mathematician, philosopher, scientist, and diplomat. He is one of the most prominent figures in both the history of philosophy and the history of mathematics. He wrote works on philosophy, theology, ethics, political law, history, and philosophy. He also made major contributions to physics and technology and anticipated notions that surfaced much later in probability theory, biology, medicine, geology, psychology, linguistics, and computer science. He was a mathematician. His greatest achievement was the development of the main ideas of differential and integral calculus independently of Isaac Newton's contemporaneous developments. And mathematicians have consistently favored Leibniz notations to the conventional and more exact expressions of calculus. It was only in the 20th century that Leibniz's law of continuity and transcendental law of homogeneity found a consistent mathematical formulation by means of the non-standard analysis. It was also filed. It was amazing. I almost copied the whole
Yeah, I can tell.
Wikipedia article, but it's important because he was also a pioneer in the mechanical calculators while working on an adding, automatic multiplication, and division to Pascal's calculator. He was the first to describe a pinwheel calculator in 1685 and invented the Leibniz wheel used in the arithmometer, the first mass-produced mechanical calculator. He also refined the binary number system, which is the foundation of nearly all digital, electronic, solid-state, discrete computers, including the von Neumann architecture, which is the standard design paradigm of computer architecture, followed by the second half of the 20th century and also into the 21st. Leibniz has been called the founder of computer science.
Wow.
Fascinating. I mean, it's just, for somebody that lived in the 17th century, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know. And then we have David Prowse, actor and bodybuilder. He was in several Hammer films, including Vampire Circus with Lala Ward. He was also in a Doctor Who episode as the Minotaur.
Yes, he
The
was.
Horns of the
Nyman.
Yeah. Clockwork Orange and Space 1999 and a little thing called Star Wars.
I'm trying to remember who was in Space 1999. Probably in costume.
I don't recall. I didn't
Probably was.
write it down.
They needed a large alien, so he played the part.
Yep. He was the body of Darth Vader in Star Wars. And he trained Christopher Reeve for his role in Superman.
That's right.
And then we have Estee Lauder, the founder of the Estee Lauder Company, and Twyla Tharp. And then we have friends of ours, Don Smith and Dusty Sage, a.k.a. Todd Reagan. July 2nd, Hans Bethe. He was a German-American theoretical physicist who made major contributions to nuclear physics, astrophysics, quantum electrodynamics, and solid-state physics, and who won in the 1967 Nobel Prize in Physics for his work on the theory of stellar nucleosynthesis.
We are inventing new words tonight, people.
New words! Right on. His scientific research never ceased, and he was publishing papers well into his 90s, making him one of the few scientists to have published at least one major paper in his field during every decade of his career.
Wow.
Which in the Bethe's case spanned nearly 70 years.
Oh, wow. That's impressive.
Freeman, he lived till he was 98. Freeman Dyson, once his doctoral student, called him the supreme problem solver of the 20th century. Then we have Christoph Willibald Gluck. He was a composer of Italian and French opera in the early classical period, born in the Upper Palatine states of Bohemia, both part of the Holy Roman Empire. He gained prominence at the Habsburg court in Vienna. There he brought about the musical reformation of opera's dramaturgical practices for which many intellectuals had been campaigning. With a series of radical new works in the 1760s, among them Orfeo et Eurydice and Alceste, which we heard a piece of last night. He broke the stranglehold, the Metastasian opera Syria. Yes, a new word for us today. Had enjoyed for much of the century. Gluck introduced more drama by using orchestral recitative and cutting the usually long da capo aria. His later operas half the length of the typical Baroque era opera, and Mozart, Berlioz, and Wagner revered Gluck very highly. We have Brock Peters, actor, very long career. Oh my gosh, his way back into the 50s. Star Trek alum of several different incarnations. He was Admiral Cartwright in at least 2 movies, and Joseph Sisko in DS9. He was also the voice of Darth Vader in the
Star
radio
Wars,
series.
in the Star Wars radio shows.
Exactly.
I knew that.
It's amazing. And then July 3rd, Lajos Janáček was a Czech composer, musical theorist, folklorist, publicist, and teacher. He was inspired by Moravian and other Slavic musics, including Eastern European folk music, to create an original modern musical style. Until 1895, he devoted himself mainly to folkloristic research, while his early music output was influenced by contemporaries such as Dvorak. His later mature works incorporate his earlier studies into the national folklore music in modern and highly original synthesis, first evident in the opera Yennefer, which premiered in 1904. The success of Yennefer at Prague in 1916 gave Janáček access to the world's greatest opera stages. His later works were his most celebrated. They included Katya Kabanova, oh my gosh, The Cunning Little Vixen, the Sinfonietta, the Glagolitic Mass, which I thought you sang as part of the...
I might have.
What was it?
Music Fest?
Music Fest, yes. And the Rhapsodies, Tara Bulba, two string quartets, and other chamber music, along with Dvorak and Bedřich Smetana. He is considered one of the most important Czech composers. His From the Houses of the Dead opera was just incredible. I heard the premiere of that at the Met here, driving down the mountain from Vail into Denver while it started snowing. That was lovely. Kept my mind off the snow that was accumulating on the road. And then we have Laura Branigan, was an American singer, songwriter, and actress. Her signature song, the platinum-certified 1982 single Gloria, stayed on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 for 36 weeks.
Yeah.
Then a record for a female artist, peaking at number 2. She left the music business in the 90s, and she returned to performing in the 2000s, most notably appearing as Janis Joplin in the off-Broadway musical Love, Janis.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. As she was recording new music and preparing a comeback to the musical industry, she died at her home in August of 2004 from a previously undiagnosed cerebral aneurysm.
Yeah, that was a shame.
And then we have friends of ours, Missy Gunnels-Catano, Mark Bessinger, and Tina Tresigny de Bellegarde. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Technorama, the podcast for geeks, because geeks are better than cool. You don't hear someone say, "Get away from me, you cool person." Who's gonna have their 65-inch home theater system installed by the Cool Squad? Not me, that's for sure. How much cool cred do you have? Not enough to care about. Think you'll find any canned unicorn meat at thinkcool.com? It's just a part domain name. They don't even have roadkill in a paper cup. That's why you need to start listening to Technorama, because that's what geeks do. Go to chuckchat.com and listen to Technorama before you turn cool.
Go give a listen to our friends Chuck and Craig over at Technorama Podcast.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counsellors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
A shout out, as always, to the Joshua Tree Feeding Program, a 501c3 nonprofit food pantry for the HIV and AIDS community in Maricopa and Pinal counties. They are an all-volunteer organization and can certainly use your help right now. Go to jtfp.org and think about a single or a monthly recurring gift.
And it's time for our feedback. These are comments that we received in response to articles that we ran on our website at tggeeks.com, and the links for each of these, of these articles will be in the show notes for this episode article number 384 that you'll be able to find at tggeeks.com. Starting with regarding LGBTQ film recap from Festival de Cannes 2022. We got a comment from Patricia Chica. She left this for us on Instagram. She was representing the TG Geeks, among other things, while she was there. She says, the Two Gay Geeks had a great presence in Cannes. Filmmakers got to discover the platform. Interesting. Moving on, regarding Katie Edwards and Rainbow Crate announced the Eidolon hardcover edition. Ooh, very excited about this. Got a comment from Katie Edwards for himself. He left this on Twitter saying, so many thanks to TGG, or Two Gay Geeks, for helping pull this announcement together. And something I'm even more excited about, scheduling an Hourglass Throne spoiler interview
Coming up soon
with them over the next month or two, where I discuss subjects I haven't in any other interview. Moving on, regarding Hamish Downey's playlist June 2022, Hamish gave a comment saying, the Pride playlist coming via News Sushi all month.
Yay.
And we close off regarding Andrea's Angle, the Phantom of the Open, whimsical and hopeful. We got a comment from Water and Power Productions. They were one of the production companies responsible for this movie, and they left this for us on Twitter saying, thank you for this lovely review, and that is our feedback.
And if you want to leave a comment, you can do that on our Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, or directly on tggeeks.com. We also have a voicemail line. If you want to call and leave a voicemail of your comments, you can do that. Call 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. And as always, please play nice.
For more than 2 decades, Judy and Dennis Shepard have honored their son Matt by working to erase hate around the world. The Matthew Shepard Foundation honors his legacy by inspiring the good work of activists, teachers, artists, and legislators, and everyday LGBTQ+ folks and their allies. Join us today in helping to erase hate. Visit MatthewShepard.org.
Thank you to Comcast NBC Universal for that promo. And we want to shout out to independent creators. We want to say please support independent creators, whether it's filmmakers, comic book writers, or artists or others. Please buy their stuff, chat them up at cons, have cash for them, chat them up on Facebook, Twitter, wherever you might find them. Please buy their stuff. Consider supporting independent creators. If you are trans or are questioning your gender identity, and if you are in crisis or are feeling isolated and need someone to talk to, or you know of someone in a similar situation, there is a special hotline just for you. The hotline is provided by translifeline.org and staffed by trained counselors who are transgender themselves. The hotline in the U.S. is 877-565-8860. In Canada, it is 877-330-6366. Or you can go to translifeline.org to learn about the important work they are doing. Please reach out for help. You are not alone.
And it's time for our weekly review. These are items that we ran on our website this past week at tggeeks.com, and the links for each of these will be in the show notes for this episode article number 384 that you'll be able to find at tggeeks.com. Starting with Sunday, June 19th, Nerdy Chupacabras number 105. On Monday the 20th, TG Geeks episode number 383. On Tuesday the 21st, Anything's Possible, directed by Billy Porter, on Prime Video, July 22nd. On Wednesday the 22nd, Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation on Disney Plus, August 5th. On Thursday the 23rd, Andrea's Angle, The Black Phone, calls it in with ominous and masterful restraint. On Friday the 24th, Hamish Downey's new Sushi number 126, morsels of news from Japan and beyond, and we close off the week on the 25th. Whitebird, a wonder story from Lionsgate in theaters October 14th.
And that looks like a tearjerker.
We have some shout-outs that we need to make. First, to our good friend Brian Weber, also known as Arkle. He has his Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News, which republishes some of our content from time to time, which is why I mention it. And if you want to find him, go to Twitter and search for Brian the Ampersand List YouTuber, or also Geek of All Trades. That is at the letter G, the number 3, the number 3, K of All Trades. And while you're doing that, go to his YouTube channel, Arkle Studios, youtube.com/Arkle Studios, because he's got stuff there to take a look at. So check all that stuff out. We must also give some shout-outs to a couple of Facebook groups for allowing us to post our episodes and relevant articles on their pages. First, to Gay Geeks After Hours. Big thanks to the moderators for saying that we could share away our content there. And their URL is facebook.com/groups/Gay Geeks After Hours. And then to The Gay Geek for also allowing us to share our stuff there. And their URL is facebook.com/groups/The Gay Geek. And as always, we give special thanks to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Other places we can be found are Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Amazon Podcasts, as well as where other fine podcasts can be found. Also, check us out on Sci-Fi Radio at 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific Time on Tuesdays, and listen to their other content. They're a 24-hour geeky internet radio station. Please rate us and review us on iTunes, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We'll have links on the page of things we talked about. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357 from TG Squared Studios. I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. Please be kind to yourself and those around you. Stay safe. Continue to wear a mask. Get vaccinated. Peace.
Cheers.